Okay. Welcome, everybody. It's great to see everybody's smiling faces. Thanks so much for being with us this afternoon for our College Readiness Now 7 webinar. I'm going to spend a little bit of time just going over a few of the details related to the program this year, particularly the RFP and the grant guide. I want to reinforce a few things that are new to the program as a result of our pandemic environment, remote instruction environment that we're in. So that's part one. Then we'll transition, and I want to give a brief overview of our Pathways and Skills Collaboratives and talk a little bit about how we're planning to connect your good work with College Readiness Now into the Skills Collaboratives in future iterations of the program. But before I get into my details, I just want to let everybody know on the front end that we're joined by two guests from the Council of County Colleges who've been working closely with me and with all of us as a team at the council, Travis Reed and Sandra Bleckman. They're relatively new to the council. I think they've been with us a few months combined, I think. But both have lent incredible expertise and insight to the work we're doing, particularly on strengthening partnerships with employers who work with our colleges, employers who want to work with our colleges, but then also looking at our higher education system. And you'll see it when we talk about the Pathways and Skills Collaboratives, really reimagining what it is we're trying to do here in New Jersey to really create a robust, inclusive, accessible, affordable higher education model that does two things. One, meets the needs of business and industry and employers in the state so we can fuel our economy and help our economy rebound. But then two, ensure that every person in New Jersey has access to a post-secondary credential that leads to employment that provides family supporting wages. We all know the stories from our students, and we've seen it firsthand from our students who stop out. Really, the point of the Pathways and Skills Collaboratives is to find ways to ensure that students have a post-secondary industry valued credential after a semester, after 2 semesters, when they do stop out, if they have to stop out, so that they're better served after coming to us, and that these credentials are stackable so that they can come back to us and get another credential. Before you know it, they have a certificate. Before you know it, they have an associate degree. Really reimagining what it looks like in higher education. But I'm getting off on a tangent here. I should be saving that for the Pathways and Skills Collaboratives, but just wanted to let you folks know that Sandra and Travis are with us. They'll be able to answer any of your questions about the Pathways and Skills Collaboratives after we go over that. So without further ado, 3 things here. One, I want to talk a little bit about the RFP. Second, I want to talk a little bit about the grant guide. And then third, I'll transition to the Pathways and Skills Collaboratives. What we'll do is we'll take these in different pieces. I'll go over some sections of the RFP and some sections of the grant guide. Then we'll stop and see if any of you have any questions about the CRN program for this year. We'll pause, I should say, and then we'll talk a little bit about the Skills Collaboratives. And then we'll get your questions on that as well, if that's okay. So I'm going to attempt, let's see if I can do this. I'm going to attempt to share my screen. Here we go. There we go. Can everybody see the RFP on your screen, I hope? And so the RFP is very similar to the RFPs we've done in the past for this program. We pretty much updated the dates and timeframes, things of that nature. I think the only thing that has changed, and let me just try to scroll a little bit. Obviously, the time of year and turnaround time, since the state budget was not approved until October 1st this year. Let's see if we've got sorry, I had this called up. I don't know why it's not showing now. Here we go. Here's the time frame. Since the state budget wasn't approved until October 1st, we couldn't start working with OSHI to get this document together along with the grant guide and get it out to you. So the actual grant cycle runs from October 1st to June 30th, But of course, the caveat with college readiness now is that we can have our programs, if any of you are going to be doing summer programs, you can have those run until August 20th, 2021. But as normal, as usual, the funds have to be encumbered by June 30th, 2021. And as you'll see, the outline is here in the, or the timeline is here in the RFP. You've all of your institutions have indicated that you are participating this year with College Readiness Now. The proposals are due next week, but if you need a little bit more time getting your proposal together, that's fine. As soon as you get your proposal to me, I'll review it. I'll share it with Oshi. If we have any questions, we'll get back to you. We'll get these approved as soon as possible. Okay. The interim report will be due March 1st. We'll send a template out for that. It will be similar to interim reports we've done in the past. More than likely, it will be a Survey Monkey so that it's easy for all of you to complete. If you would like to have any of your expenditures reimbursed for this semester or the spring semester, we're going to do a reimbursement by June 1st, 2021, and then we'll do a final reimbursement August 31st, 2021, meaning any programs, if you want to opt to have all of your expenses reimbursed at the end of the year, have all the forms in by August 31st, or if you want to do piecemeal, you want to get some reimbursement in June, and then the reimbursement for your summer programs in August, that's fine too. Let's see, program end date August 20th, and the final report's going to be due the 31st of August. As usual, it's usually due the end of August. All of the requirements are the same as previous years. Just looking to see what the only major change, substantial change, might be some of the funding. You'll see some of you may have a little more, a little less. The funding formula is based on equal share, 25% of the month, 25% of the funding is equal shares. The remaining 75% is based on most recent FTEs. This is the formula that was approved by the presidents, and this is the amount. These are the grant awards amounts that are available to each community college. Proposal is very similar as it has been in the past. We have not made any significant or content changes to this. I'd say the only content change we have made in this is in previous iterations of this application. We asked, question D here, what assessment tool will you use? And in the past, the PARC exam was included, but now that PARC is the way of history, the PARC exam is not included. But should any of you still use the PARC exam, that's certainly acceptable. You'll just have to explain that in your application. But I don't, to my knowledge, I think the PARC exam has set sail. I think Governor Murphy got rid of that last year, from what I understand. Let's see. So that's pretty much the RFP. No major changes to that. Let me just stop share there. If it's okay, I want to transition real quickly to the grant guide and just share a couple updates there to point out to all of you. Where'd the grant guide go? Where did the grant guide go? Okay, give me 1 second. It's not showing on my screen. Let's try this again. All right, let me try again. Sorry for the delay. Here we go. Share screen. Here it is. There we go. So I want to thank everybody on the line for your help last semester, specifically when we had to make the emergency switch to remote learning. And we had a webinar and some calls to discuss what your needs were, what your students' needs were, and how could we apply College Readiness Now grant funds to meet the needs of our students in this emergency remote environment. So the good news here is that the flexibilities that the Office of the Secretary of Higher Education granted us upon all of your input, they're included this year as well. And I'll talk to some of the specifics in a moment. But some of the general guidelines, there's no match required. The funding has to be used primarily for the students' benefit. The goal, of course, is to make sure that the students participate in programs cost-free to students. Uh, you can't use the budget for any of the funds for fringe benefits for full-time employees. Let's see, you can't use the funds for workshop fee and workshop cost. You can't cover both tuition and instructor salaries, has to be one or the other. And all of you figured out how to structure these programs best at your institutions. What you can use the funds for, of course, fringe benefits for part-time employees, pre-existing fees, college registration fees, things of that nature, placement testing, other assessments, tuition, supplementing or expanding a college program or service, books and other learning supplies, tutors, advisors, and support services, summer programs, technology. And here's one of those flexibilities. If you're able to secure a multi-year subscription for a software license for future iterations of the program and indicate that it reduces long-term costs, some of you were able to do that last year. You're able to do that again this year if you see it necessary. If you need to provide transportation to students to pick up learning supplies at the institution, whether that be a laptop or other equipment, you're able to provide transportation that way. Transportation costs for employees, of course, also included. Let's see. You are allowed to use this grant to pay for administrator costs, so portions of the salaries for full-time employees involved in the program. So some institutions, you might have one point person. You can use some of the funds to cover that person's portion of the salary. Some institutions, you may have 2 or 3 people, full-time people. You can use the funds to cover their salary as well. The reason portions of their salary as well. The reason why this is important, the last few years, we've returned a lot of money to the state, and we really need to be as tedious as possible, I guess is the best word, meticulous as possible. We really have to do our best job in assigning all of these funds and spending as much of this money, all of this money if we can, only because we've heard from some folks throughout the state that if we're not able to spend our full college readiness now funding, why should we be asking for more state aid? That's some of the perception we get from some folks in the state house. So we've got to do our best to spend all of this money. And as you folks create your budgets, if you think, well, we were allocated, let's say 50,000, but we're only going to be able to do 45 or 40, just let me know. There are some colleges that are able to serve more students as the year takes place, as the programs get up and running. And in those cases, some of those institutions come to me and say, hey, Jake, are there any remaining funds we can allocate? So we'll move some money around again this year if we have to. But as you're putting your budgets together, if you're allocated a certain amount of money and you don't think you can use it all, that's fine. Just let me know. You can budget up to that cap of what's available to each of your institutions that's listed in the RFP. Let's see, modest amounts for food, marketing, and giveaways. You can also provide transportation to CRN students if they are in need to access to the college or the community food bank, food pantry, if that's necessary for students who may be hungry and need access to a food pantry. Let's see. Equipment for staff members and instructors, perfectly acceptable as well. Again, these are some of the flexibilities, or these are many of the flexibilities that you folks requested last spring because of the remote learning environment. They are included in this year's grant guide. So those were just some of the highlights I wanted to go over with all of you regarding the CRN program and some of the particulars with RFP and with the grant guide. I'd be happy to entertain any questions. If any of you have any questions at this point, about CRN in general, or about the RFP, or about any aspects of the process?
Hey, Jake, it's John Lopez. How you doing?
Hey, John, good to see you. Great.
How are you?
Great. What can I do
Good.
for you?
I'm just curious. I threw out a chat question, everybody, too. I don't remember anybody ever talking about using this funding for ELL students. Is that okay?
English language learners?
Yeah.
I would think that as long as I mean, we would have to see the proposal, of course, but I would think that as long as these are students who are enrolled in high school and they're juniors and seniors and fall within that category of what the grant stipulates, I don't think that's a problem.
Thanks.
No problem. I think I got a question via email from one of our colleagues about that very point as well earlier this week. I didn't get a chance to respond. So, any other questions?
I just have one question.
Sure. Jenny, is that you? You're muted.
Sorry.
Sorry.
One question. Okay. The funds have to be encumbered by June 30th. If we have a summer class, like a summer seminar class where the students are enrolled, but the course continues on for a few weeks after that, we're okay?
You were going in and out. Your audio was going in and out. Let's see. So if you have a summer class.
So yeah, the students would be enrolled. So is that considered technically the funds are encumbered? The students are registered and enrolled, but maybe the class goes on.
If they're registered and enrolled by June 30th, then that counts as encumbered. Yes.
Okay, great. We're trying to squeeze in our summer class. Thank
Absolutely.
You.
Absolutely.
Hi, I have a question. You mentioned giveaways for students. What would that entail? What could that entail?
So many institutions, they've done like notebooks, not like computer notebook, but they've done like notebooks or memo pads or calendars or pens or jump drives, you know, I would say traditional promotional giveaway items. Now, of course, you know, if your institution is allocated $50,000 and you're spending $48,000 on marketing, I think we might. Well, we got to look at that again. But you can you can spend a minor portion of the grant on any promotional materials about the program.
Okay. Secondary question regarding transportation. I know you mentioned transportation to the food pantry or maybe to the school to pick up supplies or a Chromebook. What if a student has a COVID situation and has to transport themselves to the hospital for a checkup, for a test? I had that happen recently, not about CRN, but another student came up with that situation.
Right, that's a good question. And what we'll do is I'll note that. And I think Eric Taylor from OSHI is on now. I didn't get a chance to say hello and welcome him. We will in a moment. But Eric and I will talk about that offline. We'll get back to you on that.
Thank you.
Hi, Jake. Thank you for answering the first question for ELL learners that I did email you earlier this week. How about incarcerated youth? Is this something within the realm of bounds of the grant, of course, 11th grade?
Yeah, I think that's something that Eric and I have to talk a little bit more about. We just have to make sure that if we're able to open that up to incarcerated youth, that we're falling within the guidelines of the program that was approved by the state legislature. So we just have to make sure we're falling within the guidelines of that. So that's another one Eric and I will touch base on. We'll get back to you on that, Yamala.
Okay, perfect.
Any other questions? Eric, I see you're on. If you're available, you want to hop on and just say hello. Eric Taylor from the Office of the Secretary of Higher Education is with us. Hey, Eric. And,
hey, Jake.
Great partner. Thank you for all of your support and all of your help in all things community colleges, but for this group, particularly College Readiness Now. And just want to turn the floor over to you for a couple of moments if you'd like to say hello to everybody or any wisdom to share.
Oh, well, I don't think I have any wisdom to share, but it is nice to see everybody on the call and see some faces finally after reading everyone's project plans and budgets for the many years I've been doing this. So everybody's been doing a great job. I think the program's really come along really well, and I think Jake and company deserve a lion's share of that credit. So it's likewise been a great pleasure to work with you and have this partnership. And we're really proud of all the work that's been done at the county level.
Thanks, Eric. Appreciate it. And I don't need the compliments, but I will certainly take them. So thank you. Folks, can you comment on funding for tutoring for those in the CRN program? I see a question here from Kathy at Sussex. Yes, you can utilize College Readiness Now funding to pay for tutors for College Readiness Now students. Yes, that's absolutely acceptable. And that should be written out in the grant guidebook. So yes, that's a yes, no problem. And so what I'm going to do now is transition a little bit. Let's see if I can find the right window to share here. Give me one quick moment. There we go. Here we go. Then I got a full PowerPoint. Now I just got to make sure I can do this so everybody can see this. All right, slideshow. Hopefully everybody can see the slides here. So some of you may have attended one or two or three or all four so far statewide webinars we've had with community college presidents, vice presidents, faculty, staff, but also industry partners that our Pathways and Skills Collaborative team have put together, led by Travis and Sandra. And with their permission, I'm going to do my best to give you a little bit of an overview of what this Pathways and Skills Collaboratives look like, just to give you folks the big picture as to where we're going as a sector in New Jersey. And then I want to talk a little bit about how critical College Readiness Now is in all of this, and the important role College Readiness Now, we think, will play in these Pathways and Skills Collaboratives further down the road. So we're building accessible, industry-valued education and training pathways. Like I mentioned earlier, it's about expanding opportunity for everybody. So everyone has a path to get a great job in a workforce where they're getting family-sustaining and family-supporting wages. It's a statewide network of education and workforce preparation, industry-driven, partnership-based, focused on equity and inclusion. Okay. And this all connects, a lot of the work that we've been doing over the last several years all connects to the state's bold attainment goal. When you look at national research and data and things of that nature, you'll see that New Jersey's in the top 10 as far as the percentage of its working population that holds a post-secondary credential or degree. But our state has set a bold goal to reach 65% degree attainment by the year 2025. Right now, we're currently at 56.5%. We're 7th in the nation. Not too long ago, we were number 3 in the nation. So we're still falling behind other states. Why is this important? Because we know, as I'm sure all of you do, that the more education someone has, the better that person's opportunities are in life, in the workforce. There are too many people in New Jersey who don't have that post-secondary credential or degree, and we want to change that so that people have economic mobility, opportunity for economic mobility. Broken down as to what does that 50-some-odd% look like. 5.7% have a short-term credential, 7.1% have an associate degree, 27% have a bachelor's degree, 16.6% have a graduate or professional degree. Then you look, there are significant disparities if you disaggregate the data as far as the percentages of Hispanic, African American, Native American, Caucasian folks who have post-secondary credentials. As a matter of fact, we might be in the top 10 nationally as far as percentage of our adult population that have a post-secondary credential throughout the nation, but we have the fourth largest attainment gap between Caucasians and African Americans in the country, fourth largest gap. We have the ninth largest gap between Caucasians and Hispanics who have post-secondary credentials. So when you disaggregate the data, there are still great areas of disparity here in New Jersey. Okay. So obviously we are in an unprecedented year. The labor market is changing rapidly. There are many layoffs and restructured positions within companies and organizations. Full-time employment, we've gone from full-time employment to depression-era unemployment. I think last count, it was 1.6 million and counting who are unemployed in New Jersey alone, 1.6 million. And our industry partners and business partners that we talk with, and that have been surveyed and studied by the New Jersey Business and Industry Association, they say that the talent pools don't match their required skills that they're looking for. So we're going to change that. Obviously, in our world right now, there still exists today racial inequity that has turned to social unrest that has gripped our nation. The wealth gap and employment challenges reemerge as critical issues. So you put these two together, health crisis plus social unrest, and we have an unstable economy. Now, I will say, I'm a veteran of the community college system, been with the council for 21 years. Before that, spent some time at one of our community colleges as a staff member. In all my time working in the community college sector in New Jersey, I've never seen our presidents more committed to working together to address these challenges. Never been more committed to collaboration than today. You look at what we've been able to do over the years with our workforce consortium and the training we provide to incumbent workers and unemployed workers, long-term unemployed workers, our reach as far as where we are located throughout the state, the number of students we usually serve, and some funds we've invested into the Skills Collaborative of our own, $300,000 of our own reserves we're investing into this collaborative to launch it. Well-positioned, but we're reaching out to numerous partners to help us. We have numerous business partners that are on board to help us build these pathways and collaboratives. It's all aligned with the governor's Jobs NJ report. It's aligned with the Office of the Secretary of Higher Education's Opportunity Meets Innovation Plan. It's aligned with our Community College Opportunity Grant, providing free tuition and required fees to students who come to community college, whose household income is $65,000 a year or less. The Department of Labor and Workforce Development is helping us by providing labor market intelligence, helping us with next generation sector partnerships, and tying this to apprenticeship programs that they have launched. So what does this look like? We want to build a better pathway, align education to rapidly changing needs of employers, increase usable information so students and adults can navigate these pathways, increase opportunities for more adults to get on a pathway and get credentials that they need. We want to strengthen partnerships to help students transition between educational programs, and we want to promote equity and inclusion across education and workforce ecosystem. A lot of text here. I'm not going to read it word for word, but basically these pathways and skills collaboratives are identifying industry need that's informed by industry leadership teams. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Labor market intelligence, identify what pathways already exist right now and how do we tweak them, how do we strengthen them so that we are serving the workforce in a holistic way. And what do I mean by that? All of your community colleges have partnerships and relationships with local employers. So we'll say our friends at Salem, a Salem alum, I can pick on Salem. So let's say Salem does a great job in providing 20 nurses this year, graduating 20 nurses, but there are only 5 nursing jobs available in Salem County. What about the other 15 nurses? Where are they going to go? What are they going to do? So the idea is to look at healthcare as a holistic system and work cooperatively so we can identify the needs in all of healthcare and create enough trained workers for all of those different positions so no one is left behind. You take that model for healthcare, you apply it to IT, you apply it to advanced manufacturing, you apply it to energy. Those are the 4 sectors we're working on here. Look at the sectors holistically throughout the state, and how do we meet the needs of sectors holistically? Okay. So this is an example of what it is we're working on, what a career pathway model looks like. A rudimentary example in that this is the framework that will be used for all of these pathways, regardless of career that we're looking at in those 4 key growth industries. But the idea here, if you look, is that it's not a linear path anymore. We all know that. It's not okay, start with credential 1 and work our way up to eventually an associate degree, graduate degree. It's not necessarily a linear path anymore. We want to make sure there are multiple entrance ramps. So there may be adults out there who have some college but no degree, but have some kind of prior learning assessment. So they come back, take a few more classes, and then they have a credential, right? And then if they stop out, they have the opportunity to get a job, and they're making much more in a job, a career, than they did before they came back to the community college. Same goes with high school graduates, right? Being able to provide entry-level credentials to high school graduates so that they're college ready, college and career ready, have some college credit under their belt, but also have a industry recognized credential in a field that they can work in to support themselves, whether they want to go right into the workforce or if they want to work and go to school, college at the same time. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So the idea is that we want to work with high schools to create high school to post-secondary pathways, include dual enrollment and pathways to post-secondary vocational programs. Training programs offered by community-based organizations would fit into this pathway as well through partnerships. Contextualized adult basic education and literacy programs connect to this pathway so more adults can get on a path. And why this is critically important, we have roughly 95,000 students who graduate from New Jersey's high schools every year, 95,000 students. And as we all know, we lead the nation in brain drain. Most of our students, who graduate high school, they go away. They don't come to a New Jersey college or university. But we have over 3 million people in New Jersey who are adults, who either have some college, no degree, only a high school education, or no high school education, or they don't have the credential that they need to get a good job. So there are 3 million of these adults right now who need our help and needed it yesterday. So just as important of these pathways for adult learners, they're important for entering recent high school graduates as well. We want to be able to embed non-credit training programs into existing credit programs. Why is that important? Because we have CCOG. CCOG pays for tuition and fees. And if we can embed credentials that already exist on our non-credit side into the credit program, CCOG can pay for this training and education that we want to provide to people. All right. Cost no longer is a barrier. Right. And of course, CCOG folks can access CCOG if they're part-time. Right. So that's critically important as well. We're working on establishing prior learning assessments and really also looking at partnering with employers to upskill incumbent workers. We have a partnership right now. Some of you on the line might be involved in it. We've got 11 colleges working with RWJ Barnabas right now. And the idea is that Barnabas came to us and said, hey, we want to train some of our lower level underemployed employees, help them get credentials at community college so they can fill jobs that are open, that are a little higher up and pay better. We said, okay. And they said, so we heard about the CCOG program. So we thought in a pilot year, we'd get 100, we had 400 students interested. And of those 400, I think roughly, I think 200 are now signed up. Maybe about half of them are getting CCOG. I don't know the exact numbers, but the point is that we want employers and businesses to see this as an incentive and as a program for them as well, right? It's not just for families trying to make college affordable, but it's also a program for employers so they can help upskill their incumbent workforce. Right? I mentioned earlier the 4 key industries that Travis and Sandra and the team have begun working with and have recruited industry leadership team members and other partner members: health services, global manufacturing, supply chain, innovation and technology, and energy. And did we pick these 4 pathways right out of thin air? No. These are all aligned with key growth industry reports from the New Jersey Department of Labor and Workforce Development. And these are the top 4 growing industries that have needs right now and will have significant needs for time to come. So we wanted to align this with the work that the Department of Labor has been doing as well to help provide a skilled workforce for these key growth industries. The pathways themselves, pathway collaboratives, skills collaboratives, an industry leadership team. So this is business and industry helping to inform us what jobs and positions are available that will need to be filled, what skill sets and credentials will be needed by people to fill these positions, right? And this runs the gamut from entry level, mid-level to senior level. All right, we're not just talking about entry level. This runs the gamut here. And there's a role for the community colleges in all of these different positions. Pathway partners. So these are folks like the vocational technical schools, community-based organizations. One that's working with us is the Anti-Poverty Network of New Jersey. We're also working with Hunger Free New Jersey and a few others that really help to bring their perspectives to the table, but also help with outreach, reaching populations that we otherwise haven't been able to reach in the past. To help them understand the pathways that are available to them and the career opportunities that are available to them if they come to a community college through one of these pathway programs. And then finally, you and your colleagues, the community college team, who are helping us with recognizing credential programs, creating strategies to map these pathways, embed non-credit to credit, and all of the things we talked about earlier. And as you can see, Travis and Sandra have set out a pretty bold timeline for action. We're holding, they've held industry summits in October. The Industry Summit for Energy is next Wednesday. They're working on identifying skills gaps now, defining the current state in December. They're going to map what the future state's going to look like, implement the strategy in February. And the goal is to have a statewide pathways website by March that really lays this out so students can log on and see what pathways are available to them. And there are connections to our community colleges so students don't get lost in any clutter, right? This is what we've done to reach out to industry partners. We've had several sign up since Sandra and Travis held the leadership summits. And here are the industry summits. Like I said, the next one is November 18th on Wednesday next week. So how does all of this connect to college readiness now? So the vision here is to help participating high school students become college ready, earn college credits, improve career decision-making, and earn industry valued post-secondary credential or credentials at the same time, right? The idea is to braid all of this and to help utilize college readiness now so that we're not operating in a silo. So it's better connected to the Pathways and Skills Collaborative. So this is what this is what we're going to be doing this year. We're going to be working to identify what are some of the models that are out there where community colleges have integrated industry recognized credentials into existing community college academic programs, but also done this in a dual enrollment fashion. I know from some national webinars I've been a part of through JFF and EAB and Strata Education Network and others, there are community colleges that have done this, that are able to provide college readiness, dual enrollment, and industry recognized credentials to high school students before they graduate high school. They're out there. It has been done. Now, the challenge here is we want to do this on a statewide fashion. So we need to use a little bit of college readiness now funding, which we'll be doing thanks to Eric's generosity, to do some research here and find out what the best practices are. And at the same time, we want to identify what are the best practices and models that are integrating career pathway planning into dual enrollment to better assist students. So I have a charge for all of you on the line. For those of you who do a student success course or student success component with your college readiness program, if you have career decision-making tools that are part of your college success program, student success program or component, can you send me an email? Let's talk. I'd like to hear what you're doing now that's working, so we can learn from all of you. If that's taking place right now, there might be some models that we can put forward for others to consider for adoption. So again, if you're doing any work in career planning and career pathway planning in your college readiness program, particularly the student success course portion, please send me an email. Let's talk. I want to learn more about what you're doing and how successful it is and what the outcomes look like. We also want to help all of you and starting to look at how are you going to plan to incorporate credentials and career planning in the future iterations of CRN. This might involve having a consultant or two work with us to help us do this. We might be bringing on some curriculum writers, things of that nature. We haven't quite figured out the exact how yet. We do know it will be tied to the work that Sandra and Travis are doing in the Pathways and Skills Collaboratives. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel. And if we already have employer industry leaders in the room helping us to shape the curriculum, there's no reason why we can't get their guidance on what it would look like for dual enrollment students who would be participating through CRN in some way, shape, or form. And the universal ambition here is in the future that the CRN program will be even stronger than it is now. It's a strong program now, but it'll be even stronger program in the future in that participating high school students will be able to become college ready in English and or math, identify a career pathway that might be suitable for them, earn college level credits, and earn industry recognized credentials in whether it's health, manufacturing, innovation in technology, or energy. That's the universal ambition. A lot of work to do, a lot to do to get there, but that's what we're looking at. And part of this too has to do with if we can strengthen CRN and create even more positive results, then we'll have a case to go back to the legislature and back to the governor's office and say, hey, look what we can do for $1 million. What do you think we could do if you gave us 1.25 or 1.5 or 2 million for this program, right? So it's I don't want to say that money's driving this, it's certainly not, but it's about how do we braid all of these resources that are available to us so that we can create an equitable, fair pathway system so that no one is left behind. No one is left behind. And, we know so many of our students who stop out, but the idea is that if they stop out, our students are better served when they leave us compared to when they came to us. And if they've got CCOG that can cover the cost, if they've got a post-secondary industry valued credential, if they leave after a semester or 2 semesters, then they can get a better job. They're not saddled with debt, and they can be on a pathway to help lift themselves out of poverty, to help get into the middle class, to create economic mobility, not just for themselves, but for their whole families. That's just a rough overview here. Let's see if I can figure out how to stop sharing my screen. Stop share. Okay. So I'm happy to take any questions you might have, any comments, any concerns, any thoughts that might strengthen this idea, or any initial ideas or thoughts on any of these aspects of CRN or the Pathways and Skills Collaboratives. And Sandra, Travis, if you're still on, did I miss anything? Anything? I promised Travis and Sandra that I would try to be as eloquent as they were when they were talking with industry partners. I don't know if I held my end of the bargain there.
Jake, you agree. It's incredibly difficult to take someone else's slides and present it as if they're your own. You did a great job overview and everything. There's nothing really that I'd add outside of the fact that we are still actively recruiting for our industry leadership teams. And so as a follow-up to this, Jake, if I can share with you the link to the form that we're asking folks to fill out. If you have strong industry partnerships, employers that you're working with that you feel would benefit from being connected to this work through one of the collaboratives, then please do feel free to share that. But that's all I would add.
Thanks, Travis.
How you doing, Jake? It's Dr. Jackson from Ocean County
Dr.
College.
Jackson, the man. This man serves more students in college readiness now.
This is so ironic what you're presenting to me, because I'm getting ready to use college readiness to do a platform like this in the summer. We have 3 new degree programs that are really career ready and go right into the career field. We have a program in advanced manufacturing and mechatronics, which is a certificate program. And then we have another one in cybersecurity, which also leads to a career. And then we just also started 2 more degrees, one in environmental sustainability and industrial hygiene. And so what I was planning on doing this summer is actually having a math summer course offered to the students, paid for through college readiness for college readiness students. And then after that, have a 1-hour workshop in each one of those industry professions to introduce those ideas to the students, because what we're finding is it's not so much that it's not out there, it's just that they don't even know about it. They don't understand what it is. They have no clear, pathway to get to the pathway. So what we're trying to do here is do that. And then we have an evening program at one of our high schools where I just reached out to the person this morning before I came to this meeting, because I would like to introduce those programs to her as well. Because I think, as you were saying, and as your team so precisely put together, it's really important for these young men and women to understand that they can get 20 credits and go right into a career field. They don't always have to go out and get this full AA degree. And that's not to say that we don't want them to do that. But right now, with this type of pandemic going on in this type of situation, we need to get them into money-making positions as quickly as possible so they can begin to fund their own education if they want to go any further. So I'm really glad to hear that what you guys are doing is right on point with what we're trying to do. And then just my last comment, we actually just, for everyone here listening and who's trying to connect to high schools, one thing that we are doing also is we're connecting to the high school academies. A lot of our schools are now offering high school academies. And so what we've done, we have about 8 high schools, and we looked at their various academies, and we're going to Middlesex to say, hey, we want to make these high schools satellite campuses so we can offer certificate programs in science, in STEM, in graphic arts and design, and in business administration. And then we also have information technology certificate programs and also small business programs. So really trying to grip onto their academies and get them early as possible, as you said, to really kind of understand. So if they want to if they leave the school with 30 credits and a certificate, they can go right into the career field. If they don't want to go, they don't want to go into the career field, they want to continue, they still have those 30 credits established where they can continue on and get that degree. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you so much for all the work you guys are doing too.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson. Once again, being a pioneer and being creative with this program, I appreciate it. And not to put you on the spot, but I'm going to follow up with you offline and pick your brain a little bit. I think the experiences you're having in tying college readiness now to the programs you mentioned, that might be valuable to the work we're doing with the Pathways and Skills Collaboratives, and valuable to all of this work for all of our colleagues around the state as well. So thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Hi, Jake. This is Brenda with RBCC. How are you?
Hey, Brenda, if I were any better, I'd probably be you.
I don't know about that right now with this pandemic here. We're all locked in behind doors. But anyway, just to piggyback a little bit off of what Jenny asked earlier, I want to make sure we're on the right track of what we're trying to do at RBCC, which is a little different than before. We have a group of students who we are definitely going to embed our Pathways to Success course for these students for the spring. And that has a strong component of college and career. That is what it does, college and career readiness. So we certainly can share with you too. Offline.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. But the question I have is that because we are starting later this year, the students we're working with, we'll be working toward getting them ready for the entry-level college courses in math and in English this spring. We will hope to register them after placement sometime late May to encumber the funds. Could we still use those funds to tuition for those students?
I don't see why not.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Because it's the first portion of a course. It won't finish, of course. They're going to be using, we're leveraging our dual enrollment at the high schools for these
Okay.
students. And they only offer the course, you know, fall and or spring.
Hmm.
So we will be rolling them for the first half with college readiness, and then the college is going to be supportive and sponsoring them for the second half in the spring.
That's great. And like, just make sure you have everything spelled out in your proposal that you submit. And if I have any questions, or if Eric has any questions while we review it, we'll let you know. And if we need to
Okay.
clarify anything, we will. But
All
it's that sounds perfectly fine to me.
Good, good. Well, it broadens our scope of service, and that's what we're trying to do.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Megan, I see you have a question here. If you give me a moment, if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. I'm just going to review this real quick.
I can speak to it now. I just didn't want to
great.
interrupt
Hi,
the
Megan.
presentation.
Yeah, thanks.
Sure. So I'm really trying to address the technology piece of it. So my understanding was, you know, what we would offer to one student, we would offer for all. So I guess my concern is with the technology piece, if we're going to be issuing laptops, is that something we can do on a need basis rather than, you know, to all? Is that okay?
You can on it. Yeah, you can purchase laptops for students on a need basis. Certainly, some students might have laptops, some students might not. As long as they're students that are enrolled in CRN. I think the stipulation is, you know, if you're thinking of using, not that you are, but if someone's thinking of using CRN money to buy laptops to distribute to college credit students that aren't enrolled in high school, that's a no-go. It's
Right,
a non-starter.
understood.
But if there are students, you can get a pool of laptops and distribute them to students on an as-needed basis. CRN students on an as-needed basis. That's perfectly acceptable.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, folks? Comments or from this group, we're all friends here. I'll even take rude remarks. Well, I just want to thank everybody for spending a little bit of time on a Friday afternoon with us. Thank you for your continued hard work in helping students in need so that they're not left behind by utilizing this program, by working with your colleagues, your faculty, and your staff to provide these very critical programs to students in New Jersey. Thank you for all of your help that you've provided me. You know, getting your reports in on time, spending the money, you know, answering my questions and responding to my emails and things of that nature. And I really appreciate all the work that you're all doing. And my job is to make your job easier. You all have hard jobs, but my job is to make your job easier. So if you have any questions while you're putting the proposal together, any questions with the budget, if you have any questions about the structure of your program, please, I'm a phone call, email, text message away. Just don't look for me on Snapchat. I don't use Snapchat. I don't know how to use Snapchat. I'm Gen Xer. I don't know how to use Snapchat. But certainly just reach out to me. I'm happy to help in any way, shape, or form that I can. So with that, thank you all very much for your time this afternoon. Have a great weekend. And thanks for the work that you continue to do. All right. Take care, everybody. Good to see everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jake.
Thank
Have
you
a
very
good
much.
week.
You keep well.
You too.